booked this flight about 10 hours ago. And we are in Kuwait. And it is absolutely freezing. It's about 15 degrees and I am actually wearing a puffer jacket. That is a North Face jacket and it is an 800 duck down. Yes, it is that cold. Okay, apart from that, there's another challenge I want to deal with, and that is trying to see as much of Kuwait as humanely possible within 24 hours, which makes for a suitable stopover or weekend planning. But my biggest challenge, and the whole reason I came to Kuwait, is to prove a point. Don't get me wrong, Kuwait's having a moment on YouTube right now, but from everyone I know, they say that Kuwait is boring or just has a lack of things to do. Unlike everywhere else in the Gulf, Kuwait doesn't rely on tourism to stabilise its economy. Its main GDP, of course, is oil, and they have a lot of it. But because of this, they don't usually advertise their country for tourism. So I'm out on a challenge to see what there really is to see. From walking around Kuwait City, the biggest indoor mall designed like an outdoor mall for some reason, and things of historical significance. So let's just jump straight into it. I arrived mega early on a Saturday, so nothing was really open yet, but I figured that the best place to begin would be a landmark in the city, Kuwait Towers. Originally described as water towers, one of them actually has a purpose of holding onto water. The other towers are tourist attractions, such as a viewing deck and a rotating restaurant. But even at 7:30 on a Saturday, people are up and about. There's a cycle track along the Corniche which takes you all the way to the other side of the city, if you have a bike that is. But as you walk along the Corniche, you'll notice this really long bridge. Apparently, that is one of the longest causeways in the world. It goes on for miles. Sorry, I didn't actually realise how long that was. That's really long. Yes, pleasantly surprising yourself by using your own microphones to prove it. Yeah, we're investing in the channel. Anyway, the next destination in my walk along the Corniche, which bypasses government buildings and palaces, is the Kuwait Grand Mosque. But en route, I'm keen to find anything interesting that might have been overlooked in a taxi ride. So I ended up walking down this side street, which looked really sparse. It had this building in it. Apparently this is getting done up. This is being renovated at the moment. I would love to know what this is. Kuwait City has a few of these buildings scattered around. I genuinely don't know what they served as before and what they serve a purpose for now, other than being abandoned. I do wonder if these things had some sort of connection to the Gulf War. So if you're Kuwaiti and watching this, do tell me what these are, even if it's just someone's house or nothing important. I need to know. However, there was something interesting about Kuwait that inspired me to visit in such a short space of time. Older viewers will remember, but people my age probably weren't even born at this point, but in 1990 Kuwait was invaded by their neighbours to the north, Iraq, resulting in the beginning of the Gulf War. Iraq's occupation of Kuwait only lasted around a year before it was liberated the following year. But remains of the effects of the conflict are rare to find. For example, this museum, which bore Saddam Hussein's name, unbelievably, was pulled down a few years ago, meaning that lasting symbols of the Gulf War are sparse. But for niche travellers like me, I will find them somehow. So in spite of having what appears to be a lack of tourism, Kuwait has an underlying and hidden tourist market that may be from the elements that survived the Gulf War, and only those in the know will know about it. So the next time you're in Kuwait, keep your eyes peeled because you might find something really interesting. So let's resume this walk. I should also mention that this trip was between the 15th and the 16th of February. 10 days prior to Kuwait's Liberation Day. So everything is really nationalistic and draped in Kuwaiti flags. What I didn't realise was that Mubarakiya Souk, which is the main street market, was close to the mosque, but I'm a bit early however. I want to come back here later at night when it's full of locals. Just a few blocks away from Mubarakiya is Liberation Tower, which was constructed shortly after the end of the Gulf War. It's the 39th tallest freestanding building in the world, and it represents itself as a telecommunications tower. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm absolutely knackered and I've been walking about most of today, even managed to squeeze in a viral sandwich place. So I managed to check into my hotel early and then I calibrate the world first. Let's do a room tour. Right, so we are now in the room. Interesting. So this is the City Tower Hotel in Kuwait. I think it's the Al-Sabah district. And it's not bad actually. It's not bad. They were able to check me in early. It's about 12:30 now. I think I've wasted enough time walking around, so I need to get some sleep because I'm only on about 3 hours worth of sleep. Well, I wouldn't even say 3 hours. I think about 2 if you exclude the flight. Let's have a look then. Let's go to the bathroom first. Sanitize for your protection. I really appreciate that. Not a bad sink. It's got a drip, but that'll do. Beds look good. Is that a cover? I think it's a cover. Also, I'm holding this on my gimbal because I'm holding this on my gimbal because it's just easier to do. We have a safe and a sewing kit. We have a bit there to put your luggage in. The gimbal's wild, don't know why. There we go. We have a TV. Rooms in the Middle East, you always need to have tissues. Now, the view, I have to say, I've won a watch here. I get a view of the Kuwait Towers. That's not bad, if I don't say so myself. So after a much needed snooze and to recharge my legs, I went back out to Mubarakiya to see if I can get some souvenirs and some good food. And this proved harder than expected. Now, if I learned anything from this souk, is that it's not the most touristy place, but that could be a good thing. It's not like any other souk or street market that I've become accustomed to. There was a lack of touristy things and no one really pressured you into buying anything. I was on the hunt for a fridge magnet and I couldn't find any. Yes, and what of it? Now, because there might be a lack of tourism in the country, might be a reason as to why there is a lack of touristy things here. But it might be something to observe. It's full of Kuwaitis. Yes, Mubarakiya is actually a key location for Kuwaitis and residents to do business and to get things done. There is a section just dedicated to money remittance, and everyone seems to come here to do it. The markets sell raw meat and fresh produce as well. Nothing that a tourist would ideally want, but there's no international brands here, where you might find that in newer souks across the Gulf. But there are locally owned businesses, which is amazing to see. But however, there are customs that you should follow just to be respectful. In case you didn't know, Kuwait's leading religion is Islam. Therefore, a lot of its customs and laws are applied here. So there are certain rules that you do need to follow, or at best understand. Trying to get footage here was a bit difficult because sometimes there are fascinating storefronts and restaurants, but you will have Kuwaitis eating their meal and minding their own business. And it's likely that you're going to disturb them when they least expect it. Try and understand the customs of Islamic and Arab culture before you whip out your camera. This is their patch. You're a guest, so act respectfully. It's just that other countries operate differently to others. Definitely plan in Mubarakiya in your travel itinerary. So far, after around 12 hours in Kuwait, I'm really finding this all fascinating, but I'm left feeling more curious than I am fulfilled. I'm a bit of a nosy so I think after a good sleep, maybe I'll understand Kuwait a little bit more. So we've checked out of our hotel, knowing that I'll be flying out of here later tonight. I'm going to take a long walk via downtown Kuwait to discover a little bit more on foot. Now after a while, we reach this hotel with a hidden past. This is the St. Regis, where both buildings used to be the Sheraton. The one at the back is actually still the Sheraton. This is a significant building, and one I really wanted to see, and here's why. The Sheraton was attacked and bombed during the Gulf War, so after its destruction, the hotel facade was refurbished and the military weapons replaced with a highway underpass and a car park for the hotel. There's something deeply fascinating about the history of Kuwait. I've spent some time watching documentaries about the Iraq invasion, and the more that I was learning about it, the more I wanted to explore places in the city to know more. I'm sure that there's still some museums out there that will tell you about the war, but other than museums, this one was one of the real life examples that's still around today. A bit like the abandoned buildings that we saw earlier, related or not, they just seem to be disappearing. But there is one museum that does give you direct context to the horrific nature of the Gulf War, and you will need a taxi to get to it, but believe me, it's worth it. This is Al-Qurain, a small residential district south of Kuwait City. This is the Museum of Martyrs, a building that was brutally attacked after a battle between a militant Kuwaiti group against Iraqi troops in the run-up to Liberation Day. And not only that, they were armed with a tank as well. Here's proof of that. After the battle, where only little survived, the building was preserved and maintained as a reminder of what happened here. It's a completely sobering experience, but just to give you an idea of how sobering this is, some of its contents needs to be seen to be believed. So they've even got like the original cars that were attacked. Like, they've just been untouched. They've been maintained, but they're still in the same condition. I'm just going to go up the stairs now. That is real marble stairs. Well, I believe it is. Put holes in the walls. You can see that some of that might have been trying to be preserved, but it's not really done. It's even the bathroom as well. This was one of the key reasons I wanted to come to Kuwait. Kuwait has a hugely fascinating story behind it, especially with the Gulf War. The Martyrs Museum is one of the few structures that was kept to educate people about the war, and it's not that accessible unless you have a car. I think Kuwait is more than just flashy hotels, high-income jobs and malls. Kuwaitis are incredibly patriotic and proud, and it's clear to see why. You'll learn and ask questions of things you're seeing, and you will see them in a different perspective. You're likely to discover things that you wouldn't ordinarily knew about, and it will educate you on the real world stuff. Let's just say, I learnt a hell of a lot by being here. Today's Kuwait is very different to the past. It's a founding member of the GCC, which partners with other Gulf nations like the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain and Oman, where they have modern buildings and mega malls. Nothing quite competes with the natural lighting and the enormousness of Avenues Mall. It's perhaps something to consider if you're visiting Kuwait, just to get a glimpse of the sheer size of this place. But after what we've seen, it's not the most important place. I came here to see out the rest of my stay, but on the way to each landmark, I stumbled across these hidden gems along the way. Kuwait has some of the most unusual tourist attractions, but there's things like the Kuwait Water Towers, which is actually different from Kuwait Towers, where apparently it's a great place to have a picnic. I felt leaving inspired, but yet feeling that I hadn't done everything. Well, of course, I was only there for 24 hours, but I do want to know more, and I'm left with more questions than answers. What did those buildings mean? Why was this preserved? Why doesn't Kuwait advertise this sort of tourism? Those kind of things. But I think I answered one question, and I kept thinking about it while I was here, that Kuwait is not boring. And if you don't have Kuwait on your list of places to visit, you must change that. But maybe stay longer than 24 hours. It's literally impossible to see everything unless you're disciplined. So that's Kuwait within 24 hours. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought of this in the comments. And until then, I'll see you somewhere new.